The moon rode the sky, a cold sailor of the night.
And hello again, everybody. This is Bryce Van Hoosen, and I am here back at home in beautiful Portland, Oregon, where it is always sunny and never rains. Just kidding, we're having a torrential downpour today. So I have to apologize because I was kind of terrible at keeping up with the vlog series. So today, not to leave you guys hanging, I have a jam-packed, super full version of like 6 shows to go over. So let's get down to business. When I left you guys, we had just left Bend and we were on our way to Reno, Nevada. And we were playing Shay's Tavern, which is a little dive bar that we played quite a few times in the past before, actually. We played this time with a band called Thunderhead and Midnight Chaser. And Thunderhead were really kind of like this Motorhead sort of worship band where the singer/guitar player, whose name is Raider, he really looked like Filthy Animal Taylor playing guitar and doing vocals for Motorhead. He had the same kind of stage mannerisms as Lemmy with the super high microphone that he's just kind of like under, etc., etc. They were great. They were a lot of fun. Then, of course, Midnight Chaser came on and rocked everybody's pants off. Then after that, we hit the stage. Oh, also, before I forget, putting links to all of the bands that we played with in all these shows, such as Thunderhead, in the description below. My fiance, Mako, told me that that would be a great idea, so there we go, I agree. So, Reno was a lot of fun. The only problem that I had with the show in Reno was the fact that it was super cold outside because the desert obviously gets very cold during the fall and winter. So the doors were all shut and everybody in Nevada just smokes endlessly inside. So having kind of some temperamental sinuses, so to speak, I got this really nasty sinus infection after playing that show and I'm still kind of recovering from it. So I think that probably had a little bit of an influence on how little I was able to keep up with the vlog stuff because I was just exhausted. So moving on, we got a room at one of the hotels in Reno that Midnight Chaser had suggested to us. It was in a casino. That was a lot of fun. Usually when we tour, we try to play Vegas and we try to have kind of like a day off afterwards so we can go out and sort of, you know, hit the town and do all that kind of stuff. We haven't played Vegas in probably about 2 years at this point. I think the last time I was even there was when I was seeing King Diamond with my fiance, kind of doing a road trip out there. So it's been a lot of Reno since then. But the casinos and stuff they're always fun. It's always an event. The nightlife in Reno is a lot different than the nightlife in Vegas. In fact, there was probably nobody except for us out on the streets. So anyway, after the show, we went and did the kind of standard Reno gambling thing. The Midnight Chaser guys hit the blackjack table. I don't know, some of the guys from SPELLCASTER hit the blackjack table also. They did a little bit of gambling. Me, I went and got some hot tea because I could sort of feel my nostrils starting to come down with this infection. I didn't really feel too good after the show. And I got some dinner and I went to bed. The next day I woke up and definitely felt a little bit more like I had a sinus infection, but the show had to go on. So we got in the van and we drove to San Francisco, which is where the show was the next day, at the Elbow Room. Before getting to the Elbow Room, we stopped by Colin, our drummer's parents' house, which we called the Vrana Mansion, on account of it's pretty dang swanky. It's not necessarily a mansion, but we call it that. It's basically just kind of like a normal house in San Francisco that they've kind of made some additions to. But it's really nice, and they're really friendly to us, and they put us up every time we're in San Francisco or Oakland or anywhere around there. And we always get a great night's sleep, and they make us dinner, all that kind of good stuff. So we stopped by there, got a little bit of R&R. I really kind of had to sort of take a load off because I was just sort of feeling sick and everything was sort of taken out of me. So we ate dinner and we went to the show at the Elbow Room, and we played that show with Hellfire, Visigoth, Midnight Chaser, and then us. We were headlining. Hellfire, wow, we played with them a couple years ago in Oakland at Eli's, and Tony has been a friend of mine, or at least a contact via social media and stuff like that, so we've kind of kept up with each other that way. And man, they have gotten so much better from when we first played with them back in 2014. They kind of have almost like this sort of 70s prog rock kind of thing going, yet very much still in the vein of heavy metal. So it kind of reminded me maybe a little bit of like 70s Judas Priest kind of stuff. But they're awesome. They got an album out, so definitely check those guys out. Then of course Visigoth took the stage next, and our sort of repayment to them for headlining the show in Seattle was that they got to go on second and we were kind of headlining. So yes, we do trade off and all that kind of good stuff. They played a great set. I think they had the biggest crowd that was there. Keep in mind, this particular night in San Francisco, Blind Guardian was playing literally right down the street, and I'm sure that definitely took some of the people that were going to be at that show, and they went to that show because that's totally our demographic and totally our audience. So thank you to everybody who came and stuck around and saw us and all that kind of good stuff. That really means a lot. Then of course Midnight Chaser came on, and it was sort of like a triumphant kind of like homecoming show for them, because those guys all spent quite a bit of time in the Bay Area, so they had a lot of friends, and I'm sure that the reason the show was even as successful as it was because Midnight Chaser had that Bay Area connection, so they brought out a lot of friends and family and stuff like that. And I think the singer Josh's mom even was there, and she made the comment that I was far too skinny and that Josh should give me a sandwich, so thank you for that. Anyway, so we played our set, and went off without a hitch. The sound was pretty good, and we got out of there, and we were off the next day, so we got some very much needed extra hours of sleep. But not too much, because we met up with everybody in Midnight Chaser the next day, and we got brunch with them. And then we proceeded to walk from there all the way through downtown San Francisco to the ferry. And we ended up taking a ferry to Oakland. And while we were in Oakland, we went to this beer bar. I kind of hung out there, and it was really just kind of a bonding experience with the Midnight Chaser guys. So that was a lot of fun. It was really a good, relaxing day. And I think it was something that we all needed at that point, being the first day off. And it was good to have something to do, because when you're touring and you have so much going on, every day is something different, something new, and you have a day off just kind of thrown in there, it can get kind of boring unless you are comfortable and you have sort of attractions and things that you can go see and stuff like that. And a place where you could stay that is free, because if you're paying for a hotel and you're not actually making any money at a show that night, that's just negative expenses. Alright, so moving on, the next day we headed out to Ventura because it was the first night of the Frost and Fire Festival. This was really cool. We got to see Omen. They were excellent. They headlined. And really just kind of walking in there, it was like you couldn't walk 5 feet without sort of seeing somebody that you knew and stopping and talking to them. So night one was really a lot of fun. Then we went back. Well, I went to sleep because of sinus infection, I really wasn't feeling too well. So everybody else was kind of partying at the beach, which sounded like a lot of fun. But I went back, and we got this hotel room that was really just kind of a small hole in the wall at a Motel 6. Everything was booked up solid because of Frost and Fire Festival, so there was one room left at this Motel 6 for the 2 nights, and it didn't even have it wasn't a queen bed, it was like a full or something like that, a single full bed. So I said no to that and kind of just used the bathroom for what I needed to, and when I slept in the van. Next day, woke up bright and early because I had to take one of my cabinets to the majestic Ventura Theater, where the main night of Frost and Fire was happening. And everybody was using my cab for the day, so we would have a big full stage setup of 4 cabinets. There was no sleep after that long night of Frost and Fire Festival, night 1. So we got there, and we were the first band to go on. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who showed up at 3 o'clock, 3:30, and caught our set. I probably would not have done that. Just because of the fact that for everybody who was general admission, there was no re-entry. So you were literally stuck in this venue for about 10 hours or something like that. And so to everybody that did that and sort of put themselves through that so they could catch us, I thank you very much. So we opened the whole festival of day 2. And we did this basically because we were sort of given a choice when we were going into it by Jarvis from Night Demon, who set up the festival. And he basically said, you can either almost headline on night 1 at the smaller place, the Bombay, or you can open up night 2 and share the stage with Sirith Ungol, Mindless Sinner, etc., etc. So we definitely thought, hey, I think starting the day off on day 2 sounds a lot more fun. And it was. I was totally happy, even though I don't think a lot of people ultimately saw us play. It was probably like an 1/8 of the overall audience. It was still so much fun because we had an all backstage, all access pass. And there were just so many people, so many cool people to hang out with. The guys from Sirith Ungol were great. The guys from Mindless Sinner were awesome. Got to hang out with the dudes from Axion, and Jason, of course, from Cauldron, was playing bass for them. And then White Wizard, good seeing James, Luna again, John Leon, etc., etc. So it was a lot of fun. We had a really great time. The show was amazing. Night Demon looked freaking awesome. They have their own light setup, and man, that is they're selling me on that. I think I want to go out and get one of those because it's just so awesome, and it makes such a huge difference in the overall presentation of the bands. Mindless Sinner was another highlight for me. We'd been listening to their album Turn on the Power pretty much all week leading up to Frost and Fire, and they sounded almost exactly like they did on the record. It was amazing, and they played every song I wanted to hear. And they were super nice guys too. The singer came up and pretty much insisted on shaking our hands after passing us on the street after the show. It was really kind of cool. And then Sirith Ungol played, and that was mind-blowing. I've never been a super big... I mean, I don't want to say that I've never been a big fan of Sirith Ungol. I just haven't really listened to them that much. But definitely after seeing them live, I think that's going to change, because it was great. I mean, there were a few moments in there where it was almost like a spiritual journey that they were sort of taking you on. And man, it was mind-blowing, and their guitar player really knew how to bring it, and the singer sounded exactly the same as he does on the records. His vocals were insane. They were great, and it was cool because he was you could tell he was really going for it, because during the instrumental breaks he would kind of come backstage and sort of like walk around and kind of catch his breath and maybe get some water, etc., etc. So he was really pushing himself to kind of perform at the level that was expected of him. So after the insanity of Frost and Fire Night 2, we packed up and we took off to go to beautiful Oakland, California, where we played the Golden Bowl. And the Golden Bowl is a really cool bar in Oakland. The sound there is awesome. I think that Steve, the guitar player from Midnight Chaser, was saying that he had something to do with installing the sound system there. So, Steve, you did a great job, because I think the sound there was probably like the best of any place that we played. And it's really weird because the stage is almost like a catwalk kind of thing, so it sort of juts out so that the singer is kind of in the middle on his very own sort of ego ramp, if you will, and then everybody else is kind of behind. So you're almost standing in like this triangular formation when you're there. So that show was it was a lot of fun. It was good catching up with the Van Lade guys. They're awesome. I love Brett's vocals. They're great. The whole band is just super on point. And if you're really into that kind of traditional sounding heavy metal with maybe a little bit of a progressive bent to it, almost Queensryche in some way, definitely check Van Lade out because they will not disappoint you. Up next at that show was Hessian, and they were definitely kind of more like a 70s sort of vibe, but they were really fun. They were sort of off the wall and funny, and they actually did a full-on descendo during their first song. So basically that's where everything just sort of slows down and gets quiet. And then the singer kind of had this little monologue thing that he did over that part. And then they kicked back into the song. And it was just so entertaining. That is a super entertaining band. If you get a chance to see them, definitely check those guys out. Then we played, and then SeaX went on, and they are just super straightforward, direct sounding speed metal. That's the only way that I could describe them. They're awesome. They're entertaining. Check those guys out as well. Great guys, by the way. So that show was interesting in the fact that it was on a Sunday night, and nobody got paid. No bands got paid for that one. And nobody sold any merch except our guy, our merch dude / roadie, Casey, bought some stuff from SeaX, and that was the only transaction other than alcohol sales that happened the entire night. So, kind of a bummer on that front, but, what are you going to do? So from there, we went and we drove back to Colin's parents' house at the Veranda Mansion, got some much-needed sleep, and I think it was really only for like 5 hours or something like that, and then we were up again because we had to haul ass all the way to Eugene, Oregon, for the last show of the tour. And that was with Iron Kingdom at Old Nick's Pub, where we played with Ex Mortis and Holy Grail. And that show was actually great. I had a lot of fun. I went into it not thinking that it was going to be that good, because we were supposed to play with this band from Sweden called Ambush, and they were supposed to headline. That was going to be the big draw. They were doing a tour. They ended up canceling, pulling out of the entire tour. So luckily, Iron Kingdom and us, we agreed to keep the show going, so we still went on with it. And it was fun. We had a lot of fun. Some people came out, and they made sure to let us know that they drove literally from like 30 minutes outside of Eugene because they saw us with Ex Mortis and Holy Grail, liked us, and wanted to come back out. So it was great, and it was just cool to be back in Oregon again, where the air has a little bit of moisture in it. My sinuses were really thankful for that. The coffee was great, and the food was great too. Old Nick's Pub has wonderful cuisine. You should definitely check that out if you are so inclined and in the Eugene area. So it was cool to catch up with our friends, and it was cool to catch up with the dudes in Iron Kingdom. They put on a great show, super entertaining. It's like, I want to say like Iron Maiden meets like minstrel music from the Middle Ages or something like that. So definitely check those guys out. And so now I am home, and all in all, I think we had a good time. It was probably the most tired and exhausted I have ever been on a tour. Even though it was only 10 days and we weren't really going very far, it just seemed like we were staying up super late and getting up super early for something or another every day. And the van, even though we had rented it and it was pretty swanky, it was honestly kind of uncomfortable, and the sleep that we got while we were driving wasn't very good. And I think that maybe having a sinus infection for the majority of it might have had something to do with it. But, other than that, I was just exhausted, and I was really happy to get home. Really happy to come back and sleep in my own bed and to sort of just look forward to the things that I kind of want to do in my daily life, et cetera, et cetera. You know, playing guitar, practicing, spending time with my fiance Mako, and you know, going to shows, seeing Steve Vai, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, you know, the tour was great, but definitely glad to be home. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching these videos. If you haven't seen the other two, check them out. Let me know what you think. If you have any tour stories, share them in the comments below. All that kind of good stuff. So we don't have anything, Spellcaster doesn't have anything booked quite yet. But when we do, please come out and see us. You know, come up to the merch booth, say hi. We'll have a lot of fun. Also, we got new shirts. We got these awesome Night Hides the World full color t-shirts. If you want one of those, I will provide the link down in the description. And you can go to our web store and buy one because every little bit of support helps us out so much. So, thank you very much again. I am Bryce Van Hoosen. You are the internet. Until next time.